Quote, for most readers, critics, and sometimes writers themselves, in a context dominated by the imagery of African American identity, it has become reflex to subsume the local and regional distinctiveness of Black writers within a universal rhetoric of Blackness. End quote. This quote reflects how our discussion of Blackness tends to center African American identity. So today we're going to shift from that and talk about the Windrush movement. In 1948, after the end of World War II, Great Britain's infrastructure was severely damaged, and the UK needed manpower to rebuild, so they turned to their former colonies. The British Nationality Act was signed into law, promising full citizenship to anyone who answered the call. Overall, the number of Windrush generation is estimated about 500,000. Many of the Black passengers served during the war as British soldiers and had returned to England either to re-enlist or to leverage their new British citizenship. The introduction to Mike Phillips' London's Crossing is a cobbled series of his childhood memories of Guyana, which seems initially inconsequential given this book is focused on the Black London experience. But it is vital to set the stage of the lives of Caribbean immigrants before the culture shock of the UK. Using his own experience, Phillips gives a beautiful look into island life. The sight and sounds tickle my own memories, also fragmented, of Kingston and Auntie Blossom's hair salon attached to the house, or of my grandma's veranda and its fruit trees in Miami. Caribbean and African men immigrating to the UK, having left their family behind until they were established, found that it wasn't sweet. The country seemed welcoming initially, but swiftly resented the presence of Black and brown faces in their neighborhoods. When these men were able to bring their families across the pond or start new ones, the women set their sights on building community. Philip's story of his mother's friendship in the UK remind me of immigrant communities in New York. My mother's friends were never native New Yorkers. They were transplants like her. Nigeria, Guadalupe, Martinique, Dominican Republic, and later France, Austria, Italy, Greece. They shared secrets and tips on survival in New York City. My mother ate mofongo in the Bronx, mondongo in Brooklyn, and fufu from her Nigerian friends. And that way, his mother reminds me of mine when he says his mother and the other immigrants were indefatigably curious about each other. The Black transplants in London all seem to have that thread of disillusionment and experienced a different London than the citizens with generations of legitimacy. So, in order to survive, maybe not thrive, they had to claim their own place. The hostility, violence, vitriol that they experienced, risking their lives in a new country, was complete and utter bull. According to Mike Phillips, quote, our geography of London was opposite of the clutch of institutions and landmarks which housed the engines of power. We met and struggled instead over a space which was physical and material and in which we could be ourselves or whatever we thought that was. So they had to make their own spaces and found that despite the violence in America, they had it equally hard and they were thwarted over and over to build communities. Imagine thinking America was a safer place than London. In the States, we imagine that Europe is a much pushier, safer, accepting place than the States. We only think that because we have no grounding or understanding of race relations in the UK. We don't know that the teddy bears are the UK's KKK or skinheads, or the police brutality faced by Black people there. It's the danger of a single story, as Chimamanda Adichie often explains. Why? Because American stories are flooded abroad, but stories from outside of the states come here as a trickle. Quote, few foresaw how living in Britain would be for their children. This is explained further in detail in Paul Gilroy's Ain't No Black in the Union Jack, discussing race and politics in the UK. Writer and scholar Hall once wrote that, quote, 15 years ago, we didn't care, or at least I didn't care whether there was any Black in the Union Jack. Now, not only do we care, we must. Remember, this is still Black history. Let's expand our understanding of a global Blackness. Here are some notables from the world of global Blackness. Now let's talk about Black British literature.